is Pamela Tom, and the name of my film is Tyrus. And it's a documentary film about the artist Tyrus Wong, and I'm the director, writer, and producer.
Okay, tell us, why Tyrus Wong? Why did you want to do a documentary on Tyrus?
Well, when I first heard about Tyrus Wong, I learned that he was an artist at Disney, and he created the look on Bambi. And you know, you have to remember that was back in the 1930s. So I was really intrigued by this idea of an Asian working at Disney on Bambi in the 1930s. And I just felt I needed to learn more about who he was and what his story was. I thought he has to have a story.
Did you get to delve into his history and why he was at Disney?
Yeah, because you know, my first question was, how in the world did he do that? You know, they weren't hiring women back then, so I thought, well, that must have been a struggle. But you know, he was so talented, and what I've learned over the course of time is that Walt Disney, you know, he was looking for talent. He wanted the best artist for the film, and so at the time Tyrus was working there, they were in development on Bambi. They were still looking for the look. And Tyrus was doing this menial entry-level job called in-betweening as an animator. And so he went home and painted these little sketches of a deer in a forest, like these landscapes. And he brought them into work, and the art director brought them to Walt Disney and showed them to him. And Walt Disney saw them and he said, "This is the look. This is the look." So Tyrus got promoted from an in-betweener, which was really like the low-level, tedious job, he hated it, up to what was called the inspirational artist. I mean, he created the look. So he would do hundreds and hundreds of these paintings, and everybody else would have to kind of follow his look so that it has this, you know, visual unity. So he really was, he was Bambi. That film would not look the way it did without his contribution.
So it's pretty much his stamp of his artistic abilities and all that good stuff.
And his style, he brought a Chinese aesthetic. You know, he was a landscape painter for the most part, and so he, you know, it was a perfect film for him to bring that Chinese aesthetic to, because it's, you know, nature is such a, you know, dominant like character in the film, and there's very little dialogue. So you know, the film has this really painterly look, and it's just there's very little detail. It's just very impressionistic, and so yeah, that was his imprint on that film.
Well, tell us a little bit about the process of filming documentary and just gathering the production and all that crazy stuff that comes along with doing a documentary. How did that come about?
Well, you know, when I first met him, which was in the late 1990s, you know, and a lot of his work had been done in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s. He retired from the film industry in 1968. So you can imagine me trying to go back in time and gathering art from that period, you know. So a number of years was spent researching, trying to track down paintings, where he was exhibiting, photographs, archival footage of Los Angeles during that time, of Hollywood during that era, of China, because he came from China in 1919. So it was a lot of archaeological digging, a lot of research, and just trying to find home movies, you know, things like that. And then paintings, just because his paintings would be sold and they'd be out there in the world, so I'd have to try to track them down. Yeah, and his sketches, and you know, and then his Hollywood work, most of that was thrown away. Like, yeah, I mean, Warner Brothers, he worked on over 100 films. That is not material they were archiving. They would either reuse it, you know, or throw it away. The only material that I was able to find was work that Tyrus luckily brought home with him. He wasn't supposed to, but you know, thank God he did. Otherwise, those are the only archived materials of work that was done back then. So,
and tell us a little bit more. You were saying about just finding the work and all his work that were sold. Were you able to talk to the owners of those items and get them to allow you to have that as part of the documentary?
Well, to be honest, most of the people who were in possession of his art were the children or grandchildren of the original owners. The original owners were all deceased, you know. So I would get calls from people saying, you know, I have this painting and it says Tyrus Wong, and you know, my grandfather had it and I don't know that much about it. Could you tell me something about it? So I was having to do the research and tell them about it, oh yes, that's a Tyrus Wong, and that's probably painted in this period, and on and on. So very few people were still alive who, had his work, but there were some, and yeah, I was able to interview them. No, I didn't, the owners of the paintings aren't interviewed in the film. I have other people, but I didn't include that in the film.
So would you say learning from doing this documentary turned you into an art historian to a point?
To a point, every documentary filmmaker becomes like a little mini expert in that field. Yeah, I learned a lot about Disney animation. I learned a lot about modern art in Los Angeles. I learned a lot about kites, greeting cards, ceramics, the Chinese American experience. Yeah, Tyrus's life story touches upon so many different story threads and themes.
And then lastly, tell us what's the next step for the film? Is it going through the different film festivals and then also in social media platforms so people can get
Yeah, glad you asked me. Please like our page, our Facebook page. It's Tyrus, a documentary film. And, distributors are always interested to see what your social media numbers are. And so if they're not high, it's like saying, well, people aren't interested in your film, but that's just not true. So if you could please like our page, and then if you want to find out more about the film, just tyrusthemovie.com, our website, you could sign up for that. Yes, we're doing film festivals. It premiered at Telluride, which was a really phenomenal film festival, and that was back in September, and it's been winning awards at various film festivals, the Hawaii International Film Festival, San Diego Asian Film Festival, and it's going all over the country now. So we're hoping to get a television broadcast on PBS next year, and hopefully a theatrical distribution in October, in the fall sometime.